On January 26, 1945, in the snow-swept fields of Holtzwihr, France, amid the brutal Colmar Pocket campaign, a lone American lieutenant defied an onslaught that would have broken lesser men. Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy, already bloodied from shrapnel wounds to his shoulder, hip, and leg earlier that day, clambered atop a blazing M10 tank destroyer from the 601st Tank Destroyer Battalion. With flames licking at his boots and the vehicle at risk of detonating its ammunition stores at any moment, he seized control of its turret-mounted .50 caliber Browning M2 machine gun as his only ally. Facing a German company from the 2nd Mountain Division, 250 infantry backed by 6 tanks and supported by artillery, Murphy unleashed hell. For over an hour, despite the intense cold and his mounting injuries, including a fresh wound to his hand from enemy fire, he poured devastating fire into the assault, killing over 20 Germans outright and inflicting at least 50 casualties total, according to his Medal of Honor citation. His relentless barrage forced the survivors to flee in disarray, buying precious time for his battered company to regroup. Penned by Lieutenant General Alexander Patch on June 2, 1945, the citation immortalized the feat. Murphy had employed the .50 caliber machine gun against the enemy with such ferocity that he not only held the line but then leaped down, rallied his men, and led a counterattack that reclaimed lost ground. By war's end, the 5'5" Texan farm boy had amassed 33 decorations, including honors from France and Belgium, becoming America's most decorated soldier, and a Hollywood star in To Hell and Back, 1955, where he reenacted his stand. This wasn't some experimental, wonder weapon, forged in secret labs. The M2.50 caliber heavy machine gun, affectionately dubbed Deuce by GIs for its rhythmic chug, had rolled off assembly lines since 1933, a simple, air-cooled beast designed by John Moses Browning. Weighing 84 pounds sans tripod, 128 with the M3 mount, it spat 450 to 575 rounds per minute at effective ranges up to 1,830 meters, 2,000 yards maximum. Each .50 BMG cartridge, a half-inch slug weighing 647 to 850 grains and clocking 2,900 feet per second, packed 12,000 to 13,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, enough to punch through 19 mm of armor at 500 meters with AP rounds or ignite fuel dumps with incendiary variants. It didn't explode on impact like German 20 mm shells, it simply devastated, creating massive cavitation and hydrostatic shockwaves that turned limbs to pulp and torsos to ruin. German medics in forward aid stations grew grimly adept at spotting .50 cal wounds, entry holes the size of a fist, exit wounds like craters, often requiring immediate amputation for limb hits or proving fatal for torso strikes. Many never made it to surgery. Evacuation under fire was a luxury few afforded, with field reports from the Vosges Mountains noting up to 70% mortality from such trauma before hospital arrival. The horror extended beyond the physical. Sustained barrages induced shell shock, now PTSD, at alarming rates, fracturing unit cohesion and morale, rates 20 to 30% higher than from standard small arms, per U.S. Army Medical Department studies. German field reports from the Colmar Pocket noted soldiers paralyzed by combat exhaustion, not from direct hits, but from the inescapable dread. No trench, no wall, no foxhole could fully blunt a .50 cal round's fury, which could traverse 100 yards of soft cover or ricochet lethally off stone. Survival hinged on luck, not skill, a psychological gut punch that echoed across fronts from Normandy's bocage to the Ardennes frozen woods. Captured Wehrmacht veterans, in U.S. interrogations archived at the National Archives, confessed a visceral terror. The American .50 cal was no rifle, it was a cannon in machine gun form. One burst, and your squad is gone, you hear the buzz, and you know cover is a lie. Skies of Steel, the Luftwaffe's nightmare over the Reich. The dread began 3 years earlier, etched in the contrails over Germany's industrial heart. On August 17, 1943, the Schweinfurt Regensburg raid, 376 B-17 flying fortresses thundered toward Messerschmitt factories, defended by 13 M2.50 calories apiece, up from 11 in earlier models, with the chin turret added for frontal coverage. A single combat box of 36 bombers bristled with 468 guns, unleashing over 6,000 rounds per minute. A lethal curtain no Focke-Wulf 190 or Messerschmitt Bf 109 could pierce unscathed. A full combat wing of 54 B-17s. 702 guns, each loaded with 9,000 rounds, capable of 40 minutes of sustained fire per position. Luftwaffe aces, veterans of the Battle of Britain with dozens of kills, dove in confidently, their 20mm cannons and 13mm MG 131s barking. Then the sky ignited. Muzzle flashes bloomed like fireworks as .50 cal tracers, 1 in 5 rounds, laced the air. One Luftwaffe report estimating 20 hits needed from their 20mm shells to down a fortress, versus the B-17's ability to absorb punishment while retaliating. German pilots felt their birds shudder, wings hold, up to 500 punctures survivable for the B-17, but fatal for lighter fighters, engines coughing glycol, canopies spiderwebbed. Oberleutnant Heinrich Prinz zu Sayn-Wittgenstein, a night fighter ace with 83 victories, likened it to flying into a hornet's nest. Another veteran quipped, attacking a B-17 formation from behind was like trying to make love to a porcupine that is on fire. The Germans dubbed tight B-17 boxes a Polk herd, a scary, bristling mass where overlapping cones of fire sealed every approach, chin and top turrets ahead, ball and waist from below/sides, tail stingers astern. The raid cost 60 B-17s, 16% loss, but Luftwaffe losses, 22 fighters, including aces like Major Gunther Rahl's wingman, signaled doom, with pilot replacement impossible amid mounting attrition. By October, tactics evolved, head-on passes at 500 miles per hour to minimize exposure, reducing effective fire time to seconds, shallow dives from flanks, or Schrägmusik, upward shots for night fighters. Nothing stuck consistently. U.S. gunners racked 288 confirmed kills that month alone. What broke the Jagdwaffe wasn't sophistication, it was stamina. German MG 131s jammed in sub-zero altitudes, 20mm cannons overheated after 10 to 15 bursts. The M2? It chugged for hours, from -40 degrees Fahrenheit to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, even after shrapnel bites, with quick barrel swaps in 2 to 3 minutes. B-17 crews hauled 5,000 to 7,000 rounds per gun, total 65,000 per plane, often more via unofficial overloads, turning each fortress into a self-sustaining arsenal. Luftwaffe debriefs post-war captured the despair. We called them Fliegend Festungen, flying fortresses, recalled JG 300 pilot Wolfgang Fischer in 1946. But it was those cursed .50 calories that never jammed, never quit. Attacking felt like threading a meat grinder. Ground fire, Normandy to the Rhine, a symphony of suppression. June 6, 1944, D-Day. As Oberst Hans von Luck's 21st Panzer Division clashed with U.S. forces in Normandy's hedgerow hell, he confronted a revelation. American doctrine didn't just arm tanks and half-tracks with .50 calories, it infested everything: jeeps, M3 variants, 2.5-ton trucks, with pedestal mounts, even ammo haulers and engineer dozers for self-defense. Von Luck, Knight's Cross recipient and El Alamein veteran, later penned in Panzer Commander, 1989, we'd been schooled to out-tactic their numbers. Normandy taught us otherwise. Their .50 calories barked from every shadow, every ridge, endless, unaimed fire that pinned us like insects. We could only move armor at night, lest daylight bring that thunder. His division lost 50% of its 150 tanks in days, not just to Sherman's 75mm guns, but to suppressive .50 fire that halted counterattacks cold. German squads revered their MG-42, Hitler's buzzsaw, for its 1,200 revolutions per minute roar, but ammo rationing hobbled it. 1,800 rounds per gun, fired in 5 to 7 second bursts to avoid overheating. Americans? They hosed landscapes with reconnaissance by fire, tracers arcing into bocage thickets, barns, and walls, up to 200 rounds per suspicious bush line, per FM 17 to 10 armored force field manual. A single armored division rolled with 300 plus M2S, supply columns alternated volleys left and right, cross-hatching ambush sites with 1,000 plus RPM intersecting fire. Panzerfaust teams, deadly at 30 meters, never closed the gap, their operators shredded before firing. Return fire from convoys outgunned attackers 3:1, turning ambushes into suicides. 1/3 Armored Division report tallied 47 German kills versus 2 U.S. trucks lost in July 1944 alone. Captured Wehrmacht platoon leaders confessed in U.S. interrogations, against Soviets, it was waves and barrage. Against Yanks? Machine gun rain that never paused. Daylight became death, we hugged cover like cowards, not fear, but math. One burst, and your flank is erased. The M16 meat chopper half-track epitomized excess, for synchronized .50 calories in a Maxim turret, 2,200 revolutions per minute combined, 575 revolutions per minute each, repurposed from AAA to infantry mower after Luftwaffe defeat. In the Bulge, December 1944 to January 1945, 473rd AAA Battalion reports credited M16s with shredding German assaults at Bastogne, their quad-barrel chatter, audible a mile off, drowning out the snow and halting probes by the 26th Volksgrenadier Division. One engagement saw 200-plus rounds per second rake an advancing company, leaving 40 dead in minutes. Urban sieges amplified the terror. In Aachen, October 1944, or the Hurtgen Forest, .50 calories punched through 12-inch masonry like paper, penetrating 3 to 4 brick walls, suppressing snipers in attics before tanks advanced. Panzerfaust gunners exposed to aim. Vaporized mid-load. Walls meant nothing, a Rhineland defender wrote post-war. You hid behind stone, and it laughed through rooms, furniture, you. No safe perch. Nightfall twisted the knife. 1 in 4 tracer mix turned battlefields into light shows, glowing arcs converging like accusatory fingers, visible 2 miles away. New replacements froze, transfixed, veterans averted eyes, knowing each streak heralded 4 invisible killers, up to 250 unseen rounds per 10-second burst from a single gun. German fire discipline, tracers for spotting only, paled against American extravagance, blinding foes while aiding U.S. spotters in real-time adjustments. You see death coming, an Ardennes POW admitted in 1945 debriefs. 10 tracers mean 40 more unseen. 10 guns? Mathematics of madness, 5,000 rounds in a minute, and you're praying for clouds. The Bulge and beyond, attrition's unyielding math. Germany's Walk am Rhein offensive caught allies flat-footed, penetrating 50 miles in days, but logistics doomed it. U.S. reinforcements arrived laden with .50 cal belts, Team Cherry's M4A3E2, Jumbo, Shermans at Bastogne packed twin .50s, turret and coaxial, plus a bow gun, firing 1,150 revolutions per minute to repel probes. Ad hoc lines at Bastogne and Elsenborn Ridge met panzers with walls of lead. The 501st Pars machine gunners, like Private John Klein, held foxholes with M2s, their fire, sustained despite -10 degrees Fahrenheit temps and ammo sleds frozen solid, breaking assaults by the 5th Fallschirmjäger Division on Christmas Eve, inflicting 300 casualties. Even cooks and clerks manned ring-mounted .50s on Dodge trucks, as Private Harry Crews did, downing a low-flying Ju-88. General-Lieutenant Fritz Bayerlein, Panzer Lehr commander, watched Operation Cobra, July 25, 1944, unravel his elite division under 3,000 tons of bombs from 1,500 heavies, then ground fire sealed the rout. In U.S. Army Historical Division interviews, August 1945, he dissected it coldly. The bomb carpets rolled toward us, passing yards away, my men shattered, nerves gone. But the .50 calories froze us next, every jeep, every half-track poured fire without cease, pinning flanks as we fled. Maneuver? Impossible under that hail. They solved war's riddle, volume over virtuosity, chaos as doctrine. His division, down to 30 operational tanks from 200, retreated 100 miles in panic. By 1945, Luftwaffe remnants couldn't contest skies, P-47 Thunderbolts, 8 M2s apiece, 3,400 rounds total, 4,400 revolutions per minute, strafed columns at treetop level. Germans initially laughed at the flying barrel, but learned quick, we'd see it coming from behind and pull up fast, one pilot recalled, but those 8.50s turned laughter to terror, targets didn't fall, they disintegrated. In armed recon, flights of 4 jugs could deliver 17,600 rounds per pass, pitting roads, kindling trucks. One P-47 pilot tallied 12 locomotives in a sortie, and pulping columns. Up to 100 vehicles wrecked daily in Normandy's Falaise Pocket, August 1944. Horizontal hail, survivors called it. No cover worked, stone walls crumbled, trees toppled like matchsticks. Day movement halted, nights brought ground interdiction. General Feldmarschall Walter Model's Ardennes gamble fizzled not from fuel shortages alone, but from troops too shell-shocked to press, their 1944 tempo halved by strafing fears. Forged in fire, design, doctrine, and dominance. The M2's genius lay in robustness, not flash. Evolved from Browning's 1917 water-cooled prototype, M1921, 121 pounds with jacket, the 1933 air-cooled HB variant ditched bulk for endurance, short recoil operation, chrome-plated bolt for cold-weather reliability. Variants pierced 19 mm armor at 500 m, M2AP, ignited fuels, M8 API, 16 mm penetration, or traced paths, M20, 21 mm. U.S. factories, Colt, initial runs, GM's Frigidaire/AC spark plug/guide lamp, peak producers, churn 385,000 M2s and 2.5 billion rounds by VE day, at $200/gun versus a Tiger's $250,000. Quad mounts like the M51 on half-tracks fired 2,300 revolutions per minute, downing 200+ V1 buzz bombs in 1944 alone. Germans grasped the asymmetry too late. Their MG-42 excelled in squads, lighter, faster, 20/30 mm cannons ruled air, explosive shells. But elegance crumbled against ubiquity, 13 per B, 17, 8 per P-47, 1 per Sherman cupola, plus Cokes. Doctrine diverged fatally, Berlin's precision, 200 rounds/gun/day, versus Washington's deluge, 2,000+. We conserved, they expended, von Luck reflected. Firepower math favored the arsenal of democracy. A U.S. battalion's 50 to 150 M2s outvolumed any Wehrmacht equal by 5:1 in sustained fire. Echoes of eternity. Post-war, German chroniclers concurred, the .50 cal wasn't WWII's pinnacle of engineering. Yet its reliability, 99% uptime in tests, proliferation, on 90% of U.S. vehicles, and lavish sustainment, 1.5 million rounds shipped to Europe monthly by 1944, made it peerless. It outlasted foes, serving Korea to Kabul, over 90 years and counting, with upgrades like the M2A1 quick-change barrel. The lesson? Industrial titans win not with scalpel finesse, but sledgehammer scale. 24,100.50 rounds fired in one 1944 AAA action dwarfed 1,270 from 90mm guns. Germany brought artistry to Armageddon, America brought assembly lines. When .50 Cal Thunder rolled, skill bowed to surplus. Murphy's stand at Holtzwehr wasn't anomaly, it was archetype. In the end, Deuce didn't just kill. It conquered.